Hi guys, I'm Dan Hoff, COO of HoneyStick, and today we're going to be answering the frequently asked question of what adapters are compatible with what batteries that we produce. We make a lot of high-end adapters for you, starting from tanks to dab adapters to dry herb adapters to replacement 510 cartridges, and we make a lot of really cool batteries. So today we're going to answer the question that a lot of you guys have been asking, is what works with what and what can I expect. And I'm going to try to give you the inside on exactly which tanks work with what batteries and what you can expect and really what combinations work the best. So let's jump right into it, starting with our smallest tank, the Beekeeper tank. This is a tank we sell a high performance version of on our website that has a stainless steel mouthpiece, but this tank we actually pulled right out of our Beekeeper. So if you have this tank or the high performance Beekeeper replacement tank, which units does it work with? Obviously, we really designed it to work with the Beekeeper battery. This is a Beekeeper that has one of our custom wraps on it that you can buy on the website. So it works with this battery. This works really good with concealers. I'll pull it out there. This works really good with the Beekeeper. It also works very well with the ELF battery. You can use them cross-compatibly. However, the Beekeeper comes with a different magnet than the ELF. So you don't want to get the two confused. The Beekeeper magnet will not work in the ELF unit. So make sure to always use an ELF magnet with your ELF unit. But the Beekeeper cartridge will work in the ELF. The Beekeeper cartridge will also work in your Phantom concealer. However, because the Phantom is a very powerful battery, if you are running a Beekeeper cartridge in the Phantom or a cartridge of this style in the Phantom, you want to run it on its two lowest intensity settings. You don't want to burn the cartridge out. You don't want to get a burnt taste. You don't want to overload it, because if you burn out your cartridge, you're going to be siphoning to scramble whatever's in your cartridge to get it into something else. So if you're running your Beekeeper cartridge on your Phantom battery, please make sure that you use it on the two lowest intensity settings and you don't get into the highest two settings, because that could not end well, or it could give you an unpleasant vape experience. This tank is also compatible with our Minimax battery. Minimax battery is a smart chip, so it auto adjusts. So all you got to do is screw the tank on and you are ready to vape. And it should work just fine. It will also work with our Minimax Pro, which is our switchblade action battery. Again, the Minimax Pro is variable temperature. So you do want to start off and stick to running it on its two lowest temperature settings, because you don't want to run the risk of burning out your tank. The Beekeeper cartridge will also work with our Goldline battery. Our Goldline battery is our 3 temperature stick battery, high performance stick battery, that will work with 510 thread cartridges. This cartridge will work with the Goldline battery. However, you still don't want to get it into the highest intensity setting, because you run the risk of burning out the cartridge or giving yourself an unpleasant vape experience by vaping on it and it giving you a burnt taste. So where the compatibility cuts off for the Beekeeper is, honestly, I don't recommend that you guys use it with the larger batteries in our power spectrum, which is our Stinger battery, our Defender batteries, our Speed batteries, as well as our Sub-Ohm battery. Even though they're all 510 thread, you would have to run them at really, really low wattage, and you run the risk of burning it out. Like, you would have to run it at like 3 watts. And I just say, if you have this kind of a cartridge, don't really go beyond the concealers and the little smaller 510 thread batteries. Don't really start playing with the big boys on this side. Just use these batteries. Don't run the risk, because otherwise you're not going to be happy. Our next cartridge is actually our ELF and Phantom replacement cartridge, which is a ceramic core cartridge. It's a really high performance little unit. We designed it to work with 510 thread batteries. Now, this cartridge will work with everything the Beekeeper works with, except it is too wide to fit into the Beekeeper. So if you're buying this cartridge on our website by itself and you have a Beekeeper, those two are not going to be compatible for you. It will, however, work perfectly with your Elf. It will work perfectly with your Phantom. It'll work fantastic with your Minimax, your Minimax Pro, as well as your Gold Line battery. The difference with this tank versus the Beekeeper tank is you can get the concealers into the highest voltage range. You can feel free to crank them all the way up and you're not going to get a burnt taste. It still be smooth, but you're going to be able to take this tank into a more intense level than you were able to take the Beekeeper replacement cartridge. The Beekeeper replacement cartridge is a great cartridge. However, this one you can really let loose on these batteries. Now, with this and moving into the big boy batteries, if you want to, our Defender and Sub-Ohm battery have a really cool feature to where you unscrew this top lip, which is the ego thread, and you turn it upside down to where you get a cartridge port. All you do is you turn it upside down and then you screw it back on. And then you can screw your little cartridge into here and it fits perfectly. However, I tell people these cartridges still do not require a lot of power and big capacity to make them work. So please operate these in the low wattage range. You can feel comfortable running them at 5 watts. However, if you're venturing above that, you're really doing so at your own risk. You don't want to run the risk of burning these cartridges out and trying to salvage your oil, your CBD, or whatever you have in there. But these will work at low wattage, and it's a good experience with our Defender battery and our Sub-Ohm battery. Now the differences between the Defender battery and the Sub-Ohm battery is the Sub-Ohm battery goes up to 36 watts, the Defender battery goes up to 25 watts. However, they have the same features, same functionality, same feel, and same instructions on how to use them. So that's a little difference for you there. I would not recommend using them on your Stinger battery because it has a flat plain screw-in base and it's going to look awkward, and you only have 3 different temperature settings on here, and all of those temperature settings are really at the higher tier of what the tank is able to take. So when you put it on here, even at the lowest setting, you do run the risk of burning it out. You can put it onto the speed battery, but it's really like flying a military jet at 100 miles an hour. This is way too much power. It should be moving at the speed of light, speed of sound. You don't want to put a little bitty tank on here because you're carrying around this big monster of a power plant with all its features and functionality, and you can barely have it on to be able to power it. So if you have a speed battery, I don't recommend using the Elf replacement cartridge for that. The next step up is our new Cloud tank, which we have a whole separate video about describing its features, its functionality, its pros and cons, and why it's an amazing little tank. This tank will not work with everything that the Elf works with. It has a very wide bottom base because it is at the upper end of the power spectrum for small 510 thread cartridges. So it is too wide of base to fit into the Beekeeper. It does not have a bottom air hole, which would allow it to work with the auto draw Elf, so it does not work with the Elf. The cartridge is too wide for the Phantom. However, the cartridge will work with the Minimax just fine. It's actually a really good pairing. It will also work with the Minimax Pro, that's the 1/2 mil version of this cartridge on there right now. However, as I described in the Minimax Pro video, because it's a 1 mil and it's a long cartridge relative to the half mil, it's going to stick out. The mouthpiece is going to stick out a hair from the bottom. So if you have a Mini Max Pro and you're buying this cartridge, do know that it's going to just stick out one hair. And actually, one of the Goldline battery is a battery that this works amazing with. This is really what it was originally intended to run on. So this is a really good high performance pocket pairing for our Cloud Tank. Cloud Tank, same rule applies. You can run it with our Defender battery and our Sub-Ohm battery. Just run it at low wattage, start at 5-6 watts. I don't think that you can go above 10 with these tanks. However, it is a little bit more powerful than our ELF replacement cartridge. And again, when using small 510 thread cartridges, I don't really recommend using the speed battery or using the Stinger battery for your 510 thread cartridges, because you're flying a really big plane at very low altitude. These batteries, where their settings start off, is really where these tanks are already being pushed to their limits. So I would not pair these batteries if I have my speed battery or my Stinger battery. So now let's jump into our adapters, which goes more of into our Sub-Ohm series and our wax and dab adapters. So our smallest one, which is 510 thread, is the Phantom wax replacement cartridge. Now obviously we designed it for the Phantom, so it works great with the Phantom. However, this little adapter will also work with our Mini Max battery. It will work with our Goldline battery. It will work with the Mini Max Pro battery. And it will work with the Phantom. It will not work with the Beekeeper or the ELF. So if you have those two units and you want a little wax drop in, it's not going to work with those because it is too wide for the Beekeeper. And the ELF, it has an auto pull. It doesn't have the consistent current to really get the quartz rods in here to heat up to the point where it's going to vape, really well, like it will with the push button batteries on this one. So even though the ELF is a great little unit, this adapter is not set up for auto draw power consistency. You can use it with your Defender and your Sub-Ohm batteries, and you can even use it with your Stinger tank, with your Stinger battery at the lowest wattage setting. However, start at 5 or 6 watts, work your way up, don't really go above 10 or 12 watts. Otherwise, you do run the risk of burning out your atomizer. However, this does take more power than the 510 thread pre-filled tanks that we went over beforehand. So again, the speed battery is a very, very high performance, powerful battery, and I really don't recommend running this combo. Now let's jump into the Sub-Ohm toys, which already all the tanks that I'm going to go over now will not be compatible with the Goldline battery, the Mini Max battery, the Phantom battery, the Mini Max Pro, the ELF or the Beekeeper. So if you're thinking about buying any one of these adapters or tanks, if you have one of these batteries, it's off the table. So let's just get these over here. First off, you have your Stinger tank. Stinger tank, we have a kit where it comes stock with the Stinger battery, which means that really that's what it was designed for. It's a great pairing, very easy to transport, great for your pocket. Has 3 different temperature settings, and you're going to do really well with it. You can also run it on any one of these batteries, on the speed battery, the Sub-Ohm, as well as the Defender. However, do know that these tanks, the ideal operating wattage is under 12 watts. So if you put it above 12 watts, you're running it at your own risk. So you can use any one of our digital batteries, Sub-Ohm, speed, as well as Defender. Just make sure you're running it around 12 watts. And make sure that the tank is full because if you're dry firing your tanks, it is not good for your coils and will shorten the life of your tank. The hybrid tank will also work with each one of these batteries. However, the hybrid tank can take more power. The hybrid tank, we say 28 to 30 watts, you are still definitely very safe for normal operations. So you can run the Stinger tank at full power. You can run the Sub-Ohm battery, around 30 watts, which is about 3/4 of its power. You can run the Defender battery full blast. And you can have the Speed battery just cruising at a slow jog with its big power. And you can run it at 30, 35 watts. You're going to be just fine. Then you have your ozone tank. Same thing. This tank is good up to 28 watts, so it's really, really close to the power band of the hybrid. You can use it with all of these batteries. You can run the Stinger tank, full blast. However, I would say if you're really looking to make the ozone your primary tank, I would recommend a more powerful, bigger battery that is digitally adjustable, not necessarily a Stinger battery to make it ideal. You can run your Sub-Ohm tank at 28 watts. You can run your Defender battery full blast at 25. And your Speed battery will very, very easily navigate through powering up your ozone tank. So you don't have to worry about that. All of these batteries will fire it and will be good. Now let's jump into the Sub-Ohm tank. Sub-Ohm tank is our tank for oils. We have separate videos for all of our tanks on our website. You can use this tank with all 4 of these batteries as well. You can use it with the Stinger battery. Let's see how that looks. You can use it with your Stinger battery if you want to carry it around on your pocket. You can power it up. You can have your Stinger battery going full blast to run your Sub-Ohm tank without a problem. You're not going to burn it out, and honestly, it's not even really going to hurt the tank at all. You can have your Sub-Ohm battery, which is how we pair them in the Sub-Ohm starter kit, the cannabis cup kit. That's how our kit that are placed in the cannabis cup. You can run it full blast at 36 watts. The tank is fine up to 50 watts. Above 50 watts, you're kind of running it at your own risk, and you run the risk of burning out a coil. You can run the Defender battery, which has a 25 watt capacity, full blast, be fine. And of course, your Speed Edition battery, which is our powerful Mac Daddy of a battery. You can run this thing at 50, 55 watts for the Sub-Ohm tank without a problem. Now, we do have a Sub-Ohm sport tank coming out here in the next week or so, which is basically our complement to the Sub-Ohm tank, which is going to be, again, Sub-Ohm oil vaping. We've taken a lot of your comments and suggestions for this new launch that we're really excited about. Just to give you guys a heads up, because as soon as we launch that tank, people are going to ask about what the compatibility is. That tank is going to be compatible with the same batteries and run within the same operating range as the original Sub-Ohm. So the Sub-Ohm Sport is going to work with all of these batteries. I will be doing a separate in-depth video on that tank and the kit, about its parts, and talk about our development story, all the background of how it's going to be able to be used and everything. Stay tuned, that video is coming very soon. I hope that this video was informative to help you with your purchasing decisions and allowing you to see what accessories work with what batteries. So for more vape tips, for more cool products, visit us on vapehoneystick.com. Follow us on Instagram at officialvapehoneystick. Subscribe to our channel, like our channel, comment to us, email to us, let us know what you want to see more of. And thanks for tuning in, guys. Use my special promo code HONEY420 for 20% off this and a lot of cool items. Vape responsibly.